Welcome to episode 2 of the Long Dog Yarn Cast. I'm Brandy. I'm the designer behind Brandy Velton Designs and the indie dyer behind Long Dog Yarn. If you are a first-time viewer, welcome. I'm glad you found your way to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your time with me. And if you are a return viewer, oh my gosh, thank you for coming back. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the first episode, at least enough to give me a second chance with this whole podcasting nonsense. I started the Long Dog Yarn Cast to reconnect with the knitting and fiber community and share my passion for knitting and yarn. So if you are somebody who enjoys slightly kooky people waxing poetic about knitting and yarn, then this podcast is for you. You can find me a couple places online to connect with me. I'm on Ravelry as username Broken Hallelujah. I also have a Ravelry group that I pop into pretty often. It is the Brandy Velton Designs / Long Dog Yarn Ravelry group. I know that is a giant mouthful. Really, I just don't have enough time or manpower to look after 2 Ravelry groups, so I just smooshed them both together. So hopefully if you search one of those 2 things, you'll be able to find the group on Ravelry. It's a great place to come chat with me and connect with other viewers of the podcast, but it's especially great because it's where you can enter to win some of the awesome giveaways that I have going on in these podcast episodes. So definitely click on over there and say hi. On Instagram, I'm at Long Dog Yarn. That's where I share all my yarny goodness and what's going on in the dye studio. And you can also find me at Brandy_V, which is where I share a bit more of the knitting side of my life and what I'm working on design-wise. So this week, let's start off and get the really exciting news out of the way, and that means that I have giveaway winners to announce. In the last episode, I was giving away 2 skeins of my brand new Alpaca Luxe fingering weight yarn to 2 very lucky viewers. So I randomly drew numbers from the chat thread on Ravelry for episode 1, and our winners for those skeins are number 8, Sonut, and number 3, Becca M. Congrats, guys! You each win 1 skein of the Alpaca Luxe yarn in the color of your choice. So send me a note on Ravelry and let me know your shipping address and what colorway you'd like. It doesn't have to be one of the ones that are in stock in the shop. It can be any colorway of your choice, and I will dye it up just for you and get it out as soon as possible. So speaking of the shop, there's some exciting shop news I want to share with you guys this week. And that is the introduction of 6 brand new colorways for summer. I think of them as a little summer collection of happiness that were added to the shop in the last shop update. I kind of went a little crazy and I couldn't stop myself. So there's 3 bright, knock your socks off, tropical, let's go on vacation and enjoy a drink colorways. And then 3 really bold, deep, romantic, floral inspired hues. So hopefully something a little bit for everybody, and you'll find something that you like there. So let's take a look at these new colorways. I'm pretty proud of how they came out and want to share that with you guys. So let's start with the floral inspired hues, and the first one I'm gonna give you a peek at is called Fresh Bloom. She is a lovely lady in lilac, nice lavender, lilac, I don't know what all the purple terms are. A more blue-leaning violet purple. That's what I'm going for. Blue-leaning violet purple. And then I tossed in there some speckles of purples and pinks and even a little surprise of teal, blue, green for something extra special. When I dye up purples, I always find myself leaning more towards plum purples. So this was a little bit of a step outside of my comfort zone, but one that the shop needed. There weren't any pretty violet purples in the shop, and now there is. So this is Fresh Bloom. The second new colorway I want to share is called Sweet Tooth, and this was a little bit of a happy accident. I was dyeing up a bunch of these colorways to see what I liked the best, and I was aiming for something a little bit different than this, but this one came out of the pot and I thought it was gorgeous, so it's what ended up in the shop, and those other tester skeins ended up going to some knitting friends I have here in LA. So it goes to show you, if you make friends with indie dyers, you might get some of their tester colorways to play with. But in the shop is Sweet Tooth, and this is a pretty petal pink base, and she's got speckles of bright purple and green and pink in there to round out a nice, fresh, floral, happy, girly colorway. So that one is Sweet Tooth. The last of the floral colorways is my favorite, and it is called Fresh Growth. It is such a pretty green base, and I usually don't even like green anything that much. I don't gravitate towards greens personally, but this one I popped in tons of deep purples and pinks and dark rich greens, and she came out fabulous. I don't know why all my colorways are girls right now, but they apparently are. And this one reminds me of like giant flowers growing through a jungly vines. That's what I imagine with this. I really like this one. So that one, again, is new growth. So that rounds out the 3 floral inspired colorways. And then I, of course, like I said, I went a little crazy, and I have 3 more that are a completely different direction. They're bright and tropical inspired. So the first one I'm going to show you of that is called Overboard. So Overboard is a minty green base with pink and green and blue speckles. So I went really for kind of an oceany sea glass inspired colorway with this one. And that again is Overboard. The second of the tropical colorways is called Bermuda Shorts. And when I decided to do a summer collection of colorways, the name Bermuda Shorts just popped into my head. It seemed like such a perfect summer colorway. And then I had to work backwards and figure out what colors I would actually put in something named Bermuda Shorts. Usually when I dye, I have the color first, and then I have to sit there forever and think of the name. The names usually always take me so long to come up with. In this case, it was the other way around. So I figured Bermuda Shorts, why not go all in and kind of go a little wacky with this one, and this is what I came up with. A very nice blue base, but then I tossed in, you know, the kitchen sink basically of speckles. So there's orange and pink and mint green and purple. It's got everything, but I love how it came out, and I think it's gonna knit up just so fantastically. Every stitch will be a color surprise on that one. I don't know why, but the term Bermuda Shorts, I think of like this crazy tourist. He's got his bags packed, he's ready for vacation, and he's wearing socks and sandals, Bermuda shorts, a fanny pack, a crazy Hawaiian top, bucket hat, flip-up sunglasses, and he is ready to enjoy himself on vacation. And apparently that image translates to these colors. It makes sense in my brain. But Bermuda Shorts is ready to party. The last one I have to show you is my favorite of all of the colorways, and this one is called Coral Crush. And it is a bright coral pink, full of deep pink, neon orange, and neon pink speckles. I just love this one, how it came out, and I've already stolen a skein of this, and I've actually already cast on. I could not help it. I have such a crush on this colorway right now that I couldn't even resist. I have no self-control. So I'll show you how that is knitting up a little bit later in the podcast. So that is my 3 tropical inspired colorways to round out the summer collection of yarns that are now in the shop. I showed you all of these colorways on my sock base, which is a 2-ply 80-20 merino nylon blend. It's my favorite base for socks and for knitting a whole bunch of things. It's a real go-to workhorse. And unfortunately, a lot of these have sold out already in the last update on the sock base, these colors. But I also dyed up a bunch on my single merino base and on my 4-ply merino base that's called Bounce. So there's still some goodies left in the shop that you can grab if one of these colorways just stole your heart and you can't live without it. Don't fret. You still have a chance to grab those. And if what you want isn't in stock, don't worry. I will be restocking these colorways all summer long with new shop updates. To learn about when the next restock is going to happen, the best place to go is Instagram. Once I have that on my calendar, I usually always make an announcement on Instagram and add it to my Instagram profile so it's there and easy to find. I was hoping this summer that I'd be able to get myself back onto a weekly shop update schedule, but I've received so many wholesale orders lately that I don't think that's going to happen. It's awesome, the wholesale orders. I love the fact that the yarn's getting out there to local yarn stores. Hopefully it's coming to one near you soon so you can go out, support your local yarn shop, and also support an indie dyer. It's really exciting that yarn shops are finding us indie dyers and putting us on the shelves. It's amazing to me. But it does mean that the poor online shop doesn't get as much love as I want because I'm a one-woman show, and so cranking out 100 to 200 skeins takes a little bit of time. Ooh. So all of that is a very long-winded way of saying check Instagram for a shop update, and you'll be able to snag your skein and colorway of choice next time, hopefully. So this week I wanted to do another installment of Long Dog Yarn in the Wild. I got great response from it last time. I already told you I love doing this and stalking you guys and seeing what you knit up with my little yarn babies, but I'm so glad that you also found it inspiring. Get to see some new, hopefully, projects that are inspiring and see how some of these colorways knit up. So let's take a look at the projects I pulled for this week. The first one is by KB75 and it is called the Parlor Shawl. The pattern is also called Parlor and it is by Leslie Ann Robinson. KB75 knit her Parlor in Long Dog Yarn sock in the Fairy Wings, Madeline, Mermaid Hair, and Petal Pusher colorways. And isn't this fabulous? I have never seen this pattern before, so it was new to me. I immediately added it to my queue. It looks great. It's brioche and lace combined together, which, like, be still my heart. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. And it's beautiful, and KB75's project sealed the deal. She did great color choice on this. The brioche section is beautiful, the contrast colors that she picked, and that section stands out wonderfully against the lace section with the pretty eyelets. I love this shawl so much. So I definitely need to get one of these on my needles. Calm some of my brioche fever and let me play around with some different colors. Definitely an inspirational knit on this one. So thank you, KB75, for sharing that one on Instagram. It's gorgeous. The next project I found on Ravelry is by Truffle Shuffler, and it is a peek at her Sosu Mystery Knit-Along shawl that she's working on. I think the mystery is over for this one. You can get the pattern now. It's Mysteries She Wrote by Suzanne Summer, but Truffle Shuffler is working on her project in the Long Dog Yarn Bounce with the fruit salad colorway. And then she paired that with 2 other yarns, Polka Dot Sheep 80-20 and some Madeline Tosh Light. and I can't wait to see the finished item. It's looking great already. Another brioche beauty, and the colors that she chose are so bright and summery, kind of citrusy sunsets. Oh, I love it. I can't wait to see it finished. I hope she posts some photos once she's got that thing off the needles. It looks great. So thank you, Truffle Shuffler, for uploading that one onto Ravelry. Next, I found a pair of socks. I'm always on the lookout for a good pair of socks. This is a new pattern to me. It's called the Mercury Socks. It's by Kim Drotar, and this set is knit by SA1224. She used the Long Dog Yarn March exclusive colorway, and I was so excited to be able to see one of the monthly exclusive colorways knit up. She paired that with a beautiful, perfect choice of a bright chartreuse green to go for the toes, heels, and cuffs, which is perfect. It picks up lovely on the green accents that are in that golden yarn. I'm so excited to see these monthly colorways worked up because they seem to fly through the shop to me. It's like the month is over and bye-bye colorway. Who knows when you'll be back, maybe at the end of this year, but we'll see about that. So it's really exciting for me to see them worked up when they go out because they seem to be around for such a short amount of time. So thank you, SA1224. I'm definitely going to be adding these Mercury socks into my sock pattern queue because I need more sock patterns. Oh my gosh, I'm going to drown in sock patterns. But I love them, so why not? Why not go out in a pile of sock patterns, I say. And finally, I found one really gorgeous project to share on Instagram. This is knit by Abby Mayhew, and it is a Find Your Fade shawl. If you've been living under a rock, you might not have seen a fade shawl yet, but otherwise the fade fever has taken over the entire universe. And it's a great pattern. It's by Andrea Mowry, and Abby Mayhew knit her fade up in some Long Dog Yarn sock in the Mosaic, Fruit Salad, Jawbreaker, and Sucker Punch colorways, and she paired those with two skeins from Lolo Did It to finalize out her fade, and it looks great. I mean, how impressed are you with this? It goes all the way from blue through yellow and to purple. That is some awesome planning. One of the best fades I've seen. And it uses my yarn, so of course I love it. It's always fun to see these things come to life. I pick out these color kits for people who ask me in the shop, and of course I imagine that they look great, otherwise I wouldn't suggest the colors, but to actually see a finalized project come to life is so great. So thank you, Abby Mayhew, for sharing your fade and letting me share that on the podcast. If you're working on something with Long Dog Yarn, I would love to see it, and it might even get featured in the podcast. The best way to send those my direction is to upload them on Ravelry, send me a quick note so I can find them, or if you take a photo and put it on Instagram, tag it with hashtag Long Dog Yarn. I stalk that hashtag so badly. It's a little egotistical, but I just love to see if there's something new and fun out there that you guys have been knitting up, and so that is a really great way to make sure your beautiful project makes it across my radar. So thanks again, guys, for sharing all those great projects. So this episode I'm going to try something a little bit new, and we'll see how it goes. After the first episode, you guys were asking me so many great questions in the Ravelry chatter thread. I decided let's put those all in one place, and then I can pull from that and answer your questions on the podcast in a new segment. So if you have a question for me, head over to the Ravelry group and find the Ask an Indie Dyer / designer thread and post it there, and you might see your question on an upcoming episode of the podcast. So for this episode, I pulled a couple questions from that episode 1 chatter thread to answer and get us started. The first one comes from Becca M, and she asks me, where do you get your color inspiration? Do you just play, find it in nature, or your day-to-day life? To answer your question, Becca M, yes. It's a little bit of everything, all of those really, but one of the biggest places that I draw a lot of inspiration from is actually just Pinterest. Because it's great, you can put it all in one place, and they have so many different colored cards that people have put together. You can find abstract color combinations in graphic designs. You have great photography to pull from. It is just one of the best places to go to for really quick inspiration when you need it. So I often go through little binges where I just pin a million things onto my color inspiration board for later when I'm actually looking for a colorway to dye up. Then when I'm getting ready to plan that out more, I'll go onto my color inspiration board and just whatever strikes my fancy at the time, whatever I'm in the mood for, whatever I'm the most inspired by, I will write out a quick rough recipe. So I keep these rough kind of estimates of how to achieve these different looks on my phone. There's like a million in there that I can pull from on actual dye days. So when dye day rolls around, I go through my notes on the phone and pull these different recipes off, and so that I can tweak them and get the final final colorway narrowed down. Sometimes I have to admit, I go on those recipes that I've written out for myself and I think I've lost my mind. The colors just do not sound like they will go well together. I don't know what I was thinking, so I have to go back to Pinterest and figure out what exactly I was looking at, get that visual image back in my mind so that I know I'm not a nut job. But that's really how it happens, and then once I have the final recipe finished, once I've dyed it up and I'm really happy with how it came out, the final recipe goes on index cards that I keep on binder rings to help keep them a little bit more organized so that I can go back and recreate my favorite colorways. So that's one major place that I pull from. I also pull just random things, day-to-day life. The colorway Luau that's in the shop was a top that I saw at Banana Republic, and I took a photo of it and went home and recreated it yarn style. I also the other day had a really weird one, which was from my bathroom towels. Here it is. So I just bought these towels the other day for the guest bathroom, and I was washing my face and thinking, this would make a great speckled colorway, probably because it's already speckled for me. I don't even have to do very much. But I like how the peaches and blues go together, so we'll see if that eventually makes its way into the shop. Just really random stuff. But I also play a lot too, especially when I get like new dye colors in. I have been notorious for staying up way too late and playing around with mixing them up in a million different ways to see how they play with different colors and what I can achieve, and it gets a little bit addicting and a little bit fun to see what you can make just off the top of your head randomly. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. So thank you, Becca M, for that really great question. The second one I pulled is from Mimi Must Knit. It's a little bit more of a personal question. She asked me, what did I study? What am I a doctor of? I'm a doctor of philosophy. That's what PhD stands for. So even though I have the doctor title in my name, us pesky PhDs have gotten in there so that you can't tell us apart from medical doctors, even though it's two completely different degrees. So just a doctor of philosophy. That's my philosophizing look. But I studied biology, and specifically comparative animal physiology. So my dissertation focused on how birds fly and I really am scientifically interested in how different animals move and locomote in their environments, especially animals that are crazy to me and can do really fantastical types of locomotion that for humans would be really impossible. So I really got started on birds, trying to look at hummingbirds and how they can flap their wings so incredibly fast, and that transformed into ending up looking at a bunch of different bird species that fly in a bunch of different ways and seeing if I can tell differences in how they build their flight muscles that relate back to the different ways that they fly. So that's kind of the elevator speech of my work for my PhD. So thank you, Mimi Must Knit, for that great question. And if you have a question, it can be about anything that pops into your mind. Head on over to the Ravelry thread and you might find I answer it on an upcoming episode. So switching gears more towards the design side of things for a little bit, I have a new pattern that will be coming out very soon, and that will be for the Ophelia Tank, which you guys got a sneak peek of last time when I was talking about the new alpaca luxe yarn. And so the Ophelia Tank is officially out of testing and everything went really well and got good feedback, and so I have polished up the pattern and it will be released on Ravelry on June 13th. So you can look for that then. It is a really fun top. It doesn't use very much yarn, so it's a pretty quick knit. Really little, no shaping to it, so you get a nice drapey look, and just fun little finishing details. So I'll give you a little peek at those here. Get you excited about that pattern release. So here's my sample top that I knit up. So my favorite details here are the scalloped edging on the bottom, which is a really nice little feminine lace addition that also gives you that fun kind of textural addition as well, so that it's not just a straight stockinette tube that goes on forever and adds a little bit of interest to the top. And I've noticed I appear to be on trend this season, which is very strange to me. I don't think this has ever happened before, but I've seen tons of scalloped details out there in the shop. So yeah, I said it. It was me. I did it. This top basically set the trend for summer because I'm that awesome and cool. And you can be that awesome and cool too with your own Ophelia top. And then at the top, some finishing details that are a little bit fun, which is just I-cord edging on the armholes and the neckline, just to add a pop of color up there at the top. So this top uses about 2 skeins for most of the sizes, and then you just need a less than 100 grams or 100 yards of contrast color for the accents. And so really nice knit, doesn't require much yarn, and a great way to use up those little tidbits of yarn that I know you are hoarding and cannot get rid of. Please tell me that's not just me who keeps tiny little balls of yarn from projects to be used at an undetermined future date / never. But if you have those, use them up in the Ophelia Tank. It'll give you an excuse for why you hold on to all those tidbits of yarn from other projects. So look for that again on June 13th. So since the last podcast, I actually managed to finish a project and get it off my needle so I can share that with you. And that is my Garter Stitch top, striped top that I showed you guys last time. It is off the needles, and I'm considering it finished because weaving in ends doesn't count as finishing. So it's done. even though I have ends to weave in. Really happy with how this guy came out. I can't wait to get it actually finished, wearably finished, and get out there and start wearing it, because I think it's going to be a great top for summer. And so yeah, just tiny little details left to finish up. At least I got the button sewn on on the back. It's for the keyhole detail, so just a few more little finishing pieces left, and then hopefully I can get this pattern out in testing. So if you are interested in testing this top, check out Instagram and the Ravelry group. I will post testing calls there when I finally get around to finalizing the pattern. Hopefully next week, because that's the deadline I set for myself to get this thing out before the end of summer. So I'm always looking for new testers, especially for tops, because with so many sizes I need a lot of testers to try to fill up at least one person in each size, so the numbers add up, and make sure the numbers add up for everybody and it fits well for all the sizes. So I'm gonna need a lot of testers for this one. So if it catches your eye, or if you need a fun summer knit, check that out. It'll be coming down very soon, I promise. Yeah. So that's the only thing I've finished up since the last podcast. Those poor socks that I showed you have literally been sitting on the shelf behind me since I finished the podcast. I haven't touched them. That's pretty bad, Brandy. Not great. But my excuse is I went nuts and cast on a bunch of other things instead. So let's take a look at what's on my needles right now. So the first whip I want to share with you guys is, it's strange. It has a whole spiel to it, so here it goes. I have a fun collaboration with another indie maker coming up. It's going to be in the shop pretty soon, I hope, but I don't want to make a full-blown announcement about it until I have a little bit more of the plan in place. But needless to say, I'm freaking excited about it. After we finalized kind of the basic details for this collaboration, I went nuts. I was so excited, I couldn't help myself, and I cast on a new sock design that will become part of this whole little secret project that's coming out. And so since it's a little bit secret, I'm not going to give away too much of the fun bits yet until the full announcement comes out. But I cast on in the new Coral Crush colorway, so I do want to share so you guys can see how the colorway is knitting up at least, and hopefully there'll be a little tease at what's coming up for this really great collaboration that I'm really super excited about, and so you guys can eagerly be awaiting more news on that. So here's the sock that I cast on. This is just the back of it, so you don't get to see any fun bits except the beautiful way that the yarn is knitting up. And then on the top here, that's just a mini skein of the Hawaiian Gold colorway to pair with it. So yeah, I've been knitting on these for a couple of days now. Just turned the heel, and hopefully we'll get the whole thing finished up very soon. I guess that's what happens when you get a little bit too excited and jump the shark a bit. No, it'll be great. I'm really excited, and hopefully in the next podcast I'll be able to officially drop the bomb on this really great collaboration that's going to be coming up soon. The second goodie that's on my needles now is another design. This one you guys got a sneak peek of last time. I showed you the colorways that I was planning on working with, but now I've actually cast on and finished up the first section of my new wrap design that I talked about last time, really. And so here it is. It's going to be slightly asymmetric due to the way that the chevron pattern works out, and I just finished up this first section and added the second color in. So the first color on here is Jawbreaker, and then you can see I just added in the next color, started striping it in, and that one is Sweet Dreams. And these are both on my single merino base. Isn't this fun? I mean, can you believe what you can do with two basic stitches? Knits, purls, you just put them together in different ways and you get such fantastic, amazing products. Still kind of blows my mind a little bit that it's so simple. So yeah, you got a little bit of texture, a little bit of fun shapes, a little bit of stripes. It's like a little bit of everything, but super simple to achieve. So I'm really liking how this one's turning out so far. It's coming out how I imagined. I've had to tweak it a little bit, but not too much, and hopefully by the next podcast I'll have at least the third color added in, if not be pretty close to finishing this goodie up. So that's my chevron wrap so far. So those are two design work related knitting projects that I've been working on, but I did actually cast on a fun project just for myself, just fun knitting. So I hope you guys are really proud of me. So these are my Colina socks, and I just cast them on last week. Really nice, simple pattern that has great effect. So nice and textured on the front, so it's fun for me to knit and not clashing with the speckled yarn. And this yarn is actually not my yarn, if you can imagine that. This is Barnyard Knits in the Lavender Fields colorway on the 75-25 merino nylon blend, and then the toes, those are mine. That's a sock, tiny bit of sock scrap in the spiced pumpkin colorway. Every time I wind mini skeins, I always have a tiny bit left over, and I can't bring myself to throw away like 5 grams of yarn. I keep them. They're in little bags and they're like bursting at the seams because I always figure I'm going to use it for something. Why throw it away? So I'm using it. Goes to show you, I keep those things around for a reason eventually. So I'm really happy with how these are coming out so far. I chose them because I really like the texture at the top, and it's a toe-up pattern, and I haven't knit a toe-up pattern in a really long time, so it was about time that I got myself practiced on that skill again and do something a little bit different this time. So I'm really enjoying knitting these up just for fun. I've made sure to make time for myself for fun knitting, which was one of the suggestions in the chatter thread from the last episode, to make appointments for knitting just for myself. And that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to switch every other night between work and fun knitting so that I make sure some rows get done on this one and the work side of things doesn't take over. So thank you for whoever, I don't remember who suggested that, but it was brilliant and it's been working. Simple solution to a problem I created for myself. So thank you for suggesting that. The very last whip I have to share this week is Andy's socks, and you are not going to believe how far I have gotten on Andy's socks. Here they are. So I wound the skein into a cake. Small baby steps. It's the baby steps that get you there. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I think this yarn has become even less inspiring in cake form. But I love Andy. He wants some socks. I'm gonna cast these on. At least by the next episode, I'm gonna force myself to cast these on. And I actually did choose a pattern to make. You guys had so many great suggestions. I think I added every single one of them to my queue. So I've got a bunch I want to just knit for myself, and now I have a nice back catalog to pull from for some manly man socks for dear Andy, if he ever gets another pair of socks after I finish this one. So what I chose was the Atticus pattern, and that was suggested to me by Quirky Turtle. It was a tough choice, but I think with the kind of short stripes of color in this yarn that it'll play nice with that textural stitch of the Atticus sock and not get buried in there. So it'll keep me happy and be Andy approved. So by next time you will see at least a cuff of this sock, I promise. So last week I was watching the Wool Needles Hands podcast with Taylor, which is a great podcast. You should check it out. As a brunette, short-haired podcast host who also is an indie dyer, I highly recommend her. If you know the podcast, you'll get why. As a short-haired brunette podcast host / indie dyer, I highly recommend Taylor over at Wool Needles and Hands, but she was kind of playing along with what I'm going to call a podcast meme. It's a challenge to dive into your knitting bag and share all your deep, dark knitting secrets that are hiding in there. So I'm going to join in and share what I keep in my knitting bag. So full disclosure, I actually kind of cheated a tiny little bit and actually put together a knitting bag to do this, because I usually just keep all of my knickknacks and whatnots spread out between a million project bags that I'm working on at the moment. It's a bad habit because it means when I need a pair of scissors or a measuring tape, they're never where I need them to be. I did not have a dedicated pouch or knitting bag to put these things in. So this really kind of forced me to put together a knitting bag so that I could show you what I keep in it. So here is my little knitting bag that I put together. It's kind of just simple, cheap cosmetics pouch that came in a kit that I've kept around forever, but I don't actually use very much. So I dressed it up with these super adorable, come on, there we go, super adorable embroidered pins that I got from a local shop in Culver City where I live, and now they can pretty up my dreary project knitting bag. So let's check out what I placed inside here a couple days ago. So I definitely cannot live without my stitch markers. This is probably my most used item. I got a little pouch of these guys, and this thing used to be completely full of stitch markers, and there must be a little elf that steals away with them in the night. I swear it, because otherwise I have just lost a billion stitch markers. I'm gonna need to buy some more soon. My favorites are these little ones. I don't know what they're called. I'm gonna call them light bulb pins because that's what they look like to me. And I like the fact that they actually unfasten like a safety pin, so I can move them around or put them in specific stitches if I need to count rows or mark a specific stitch. And they're cheap, which is good because I'm gonna need to buy a bunch more to replace all of the ones that have been stolen from me by little elves. Those are the ones I primarily use. I have a couple others in here that are a little bit fancier that have been gifted to me. So definitely stitch markers go with me everywhere. I've got my measuring tape. I prefer the retractable ones because I hate when they get tangled. The regular tape ones I can never keep in an orderly fashion, but I have a bunch of those around here too, just in case I need an extra one. Scissors, another thing I have about 5 million pairs of because I can never find a pair when I need it. In fact, I just bought another pair the other day. but they're really cute, so they almost don't count. Little birdie scissors. Oh, I love them. These are from Fringe Supply in case you need to get your own birdie scissors. So I'm not allowed to lose these, they're too cute. Oh, pins. I always have pins around for jotting down notes, especially if I'm working on a new design. So I have 500 pins because I love colored pins the most, and I cannot help myself when I come across like a pack of colored pins. It's a bad habit. Crochet hook for picking up dropped stitches. Tapestry needle, another thing that always is missing when I need one. I'm pretty sure that whoever got our sofa that we gave away in Toronto, if they pulled the bottom off of that thing, they found 10 pounds of stitch markers and 25 tapestry needles, because I cannot count how many times I dropped those things in the side of the sofa, never to be seen again by human eyes. And then what's left in here is kind of just upkeep of my hands, some quick EOS lotion because it's nice and portable and fits in my baggie. Cuticle trimmer because my cuticles are a nightmare, and I'm constantly battling those things so that they don't rip and peel. You don't need to hear the sob story, but I always need my cuticle trimmer, so I figured this was a safe place to keep it, hopefully. Scrap yarn for putting stitches on. I don't own a single proper stitch holder. Only scrap yarn is all I've ever used. Stitch holders are never big enough for what I need them for, so I've never found myself looking to buy one. And that's it. Oh, that was kind of boring. Nothing really exciting in there, but it's still fun to check out what other knitters use. There are a couple other things that don't fit in my knitting bag, but almost are always next to me when I'm working. One is my design notebook. This is my current one, the Happy Panda notebook, and this is where I keep all my notes that I jot down while I'm working on patterns, because I will basically write out the pattern by hand when I'm working, and then knitting up the sample, and then polish that up when I finish. And if you're wondering what this is, it is a pencil case that I found at a little Japanese store in San Diego. It's elastic and fits around the cover of your notebook. But it is not pencils that this hides, my friend. It is the perfect size for my DPNs. So I keep my DPNs in this little pouch. Because it's perfect. And so I actually just ran across a bunch of these elastic pencil cases at Michael's in the clearance bin. So if you also want to commandeer a pencil case for a DPN pouch, check out Michael's. The other thing I always have near me when I'm knitting is my Weenie Dog ring holder. My mom gave me this because I never knit with my rings on. They're often off when I'm dyeing, when I'm sleeping, when I'm knitting, so she gave me this ring holder so that I wouldn't lose my rings down the side of the sofa, never to be seen again. That would be horrible. So those are my tools of the trade. Do you have something special that you always keep in your knitting bag, or maybe you looked in there and you found something that you couldn't believe was in there? Let me know what your tools that you can't live without are. And if you are a fellow podcaster, I'd love to see what you keep in your knitting bag and pass the torch to you guys to carry on this fun little meme through the podcast realms. So since the last podcast, I have treated myself to more than a few goodies from fellow indie handmakers out there in the interwebs. A few of these were suggested to me by you guys, so keep those recommendations coming. If you have an indie dyer or know somebody who makes great knitting related items, pass that on to me. I am always looking to help support fellow small business owners. So let's look at what came in the mail this week. The first goodie I got, you guys have already had a sneak peek of, and that is the skein of Barnyard Knits yarn in the Lavender Fields colorway that I am working on my socks in. So basically I cast this on as soon as this skein came in the mail because it is gorgeous. I bought this with the intentions that it would convince Andy to switch to a more exciting color for his socks, but his reaction to the skein was a little underwhelming. So I'm not going to spend this pretty skein of yarn on somebody who's not going to appreciate it properly. And so I'm going to show you here how it's knitting up on the back so you can appreciate all the wonderful speckles in there. Really nice dusky blue base with green and blue and brown speckles, and it's great. So really enjoying working with this yarn, and this is the first skein I've gotten from Barnyard Knits, and I highly doubt that it will be the last. The next couple of goodies that I got were recommended to me by Truffle Shuffler, and they are 2 skeins of yarn from HKNT. And she is actually kind of a local knitter to me, or a fellow California knitter dyeing in Reading. And when I saw this colorway in the shop, I immediately fell in love. This is Santa Monica Pier, and I just loved the colors, but the name got me in this case, because the Santa Monica Pier was one of the first places Andy and I visited when we moved here, so I was nostalgic for our trip from a month ago. But when I saw that colorway, I immediately wanted it, but it was sold out on her John Henry base. And so I sent her a little note asking if she would be dyeing up some soon, and the universe must have been looking out for me, or sent her some vibes that I was on a mission, and she had just dyed some up. So she set aside 1 skein for me, so I can't wait to make a pair of Santa Monica socks for myself. And then while I was there, I also picked up a second skein in the Garden Party colorway, also on the John Henry sock, and that is a 75-25 merino nylon blend, and it's very pretty green colorway with all sorts of speckles in there. And I did not intentionally mean to match these skeins up, but they go together very well. So I think I might do a pair of socks that are a little bit mismatched, where I do a body in this colorway with the toes, heels, and cuffs in this one, and then switch it around for the second sock. Because I have tiny feet, I highly expect that I'm going to be able to get a full pair out of each skein plus a mismatched pair. So 3 socks total out of these beauties. So thank you, Truffle Shuffler, for passing on that recommendation. I really love her colors. So my yarn shopping spree did not stop there, and then I picked up a mini skein set from Blissfulness on Etsy, and this is in her classic base, which again is another 75-25 merino nylon blend, and it's gorgeous. I mean, look at these colors. I dream of this becoming a pair of socks that uses all 5. So I haven't looked to see if there's a pattern that does that, but if you know of a sock pattern that uses a mini skein set, it can be color work or stripes or any I don't even care, just anything that uses a mini skein set for a pair of socks, send that my way. I really want to see what's out there, because I don't know of any, and if there's not one, then I guess I'll just fudge one up. So yeah, another pretty in the shop, another pretty in my stash from Blissfulness on Etsy. So that's all the yarn I got, but I also came across a project bag that I couldn't live without on Etsy, and this is by the Happy Little Sheep, I think is her shop. And once I saw this project bag, I could not go without it. It's got unicorns on it. Like I said, I'm a tiny little child and I love this fabric. But when it arrived, the unicorn wasn't even my favorite anymore. It's these guys. These guys are my favorite now, these little badgers hiding in a tree trunk with this scarf on. I love those cheeky little badgers, so cute. And this is a nice big project bag. I've got 4 skeins in there right now, so it's could probably hold a sweater size amount of yarn for some people. It came with a lot of sweet little goodies. It's got a little handle that you can detach, use as a key ring if you wanted to, but I'm just using it as a handle right now. And it also came with a progress keeper, a little unicorn progress keeper, which is adorable. So I love that that was thrown in as well, because unicorns. So that is fully where I intended to stop. That was it. But I couldn't help myself when in my Etsy feed I saw this next project bag, and it was not allowed to go home with anybody else. Because it's wiener dogs. Oh my gosh. I buy basically anything that has a wiener dog on it. Bad habit. But this project bag is by Knit Two Together on Etsy, and it is so adorable. I just love the fabric and the little bones on the inside lining. Super cute. It's a drawstring bag, which I had never used before. This is my first drawstring bag. But the best thing about this project bag is actually hiding on the inside. It is one of the smartest, best constructed project bags I have come across. It's genius. So let's see if I can show it off properly. So on the inside, it has a zipper pouch to store your stuff in, and that pouch divides it into 2 different sections on the inside. So you can fit 2 balls in there and keep them separated. But the best thing about it is these little snaps. So when I first got this bag, I was sitting there looking at these snaps on the inside. It took me probably 10 minutes to figure out what was going on, what the heck was happening. And there's one on either side of the bag, and I think I figured out what it's for. Snapping your yarn in place as a yarn guide. How smart is that? It's brilliant. So this bag would be perfect for a project that uses color work. Any kind of color work, 2-color project. You can have a ball in each side of the bag and guiding it through those little snap guides. Isn't that so smart? How did she even think of that? I really do not know, but it is brilliant, even if it took me a little while to figure out what was happening. I just think it is splendid and just a really smart design that I have not seen in any other project bags before. So check out Knit Two Together on Etsy. So then my last little acquisition of the week, I was on Instagram and I came across Truffle Shuffler's Instagram feed. You may notice you've heard that name a couple times in this podcast, and that is because Jensen at Truffle Shuffler is awesome and a horrible influence on me. And I found out on Instagram that she makes handmade little clay progress keepers and stitch markers. The one that I saw on her Instagram feed that made me rush out to her shop is her little unicorns. How cute is that little unicorn? I mean, it's sparkly, it's pink, it's perfect. It's everything a little unicorn should be. But our shop is dangerous, and I didn't leave with just that little unicorn. I also got myself a little dinosaur. Oh, isn't that so cute? I love his little blue spots. So I got myself those 2 progress keepers. I haven't really used a lot of progress keepers before, or I was kind of puzzled at how people use them. But for me, I really like them for sock knitting because I can mark the first stitch of the round when I can't put a regular stitch marker in there. And when they're so cute like these are, it is really fun to have them hanging there and marking how much progress, how much rows you work in one sitting. So now I'm really getting into these super cute little progress keepers. So thank you, Jensen, I love them. So when Jensen sent those to me, she actually included 2 goodies for me to give away on the podcast, which I can't believe. She is officially the first donation of a giveaway prize. So thank you, Jensen. So one lucky viewer will win these goodies from Truffle Shuffler. One is a stitch marker set in her little gemstone, shiny sparkly gemstones. So you get 3 gemstone markers and then 3 little ring markers, beaded ring markers to make a set of 6. And she also included a progress keeper too. So a little ladybug progress keeper that is super cute. So I will be drawing one winner for that prize, and I am also going to donate some more yarn for this episode. So one lucky viewer will also be winning a June sock set. So that'll be a skein of the June exclusive colorway and a mini skein of Hawaiian gold to make a sock set. So if you want to win one of these great prizes, head on over to the Ravelry group and check out the episode 2 chatter thread and just pop in and say a quick hi. Any comments on that thread are eligible for prize, and I'll be drawing 2 more winners randomly right before episode 3. So make sure you come back and see if you may have won one of these goodies. And again, thank you to Jensen for donating those great prizes. That's so awesome. So I think that's all for me this time around. I've talked myself out. Until next time, happy knitting. May your yarns never tangle, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.